And Greg was kind enough to volunteer to deliver a speech on short notice. He's a veteran Toastmaster, always adds great insight and thought-provoking ideas to our club. And he's delivering a speech tonight from the abstract concept speech from the Speaking to Inform manual. The title of his speech is Paranoia Can Destroy Ya. In a different Toastmasters club, in a different decade, Greg Miller gave a different speech entitled Paranoia Will Destroy Ya. Paranoia might not destroy ya. Greg will explain. Welcome, Greg Miller.
In his first inaugural address on March 3, 1933, Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, and I quote, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." What does that mean? What is fear? Is fear beneficial or is it baneful? If it is the latter, then how do we overcome it? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests, the purpose of tonight's speech is to answer those very important questions. Fear can be defined as an unpleasant emotion that surrounds a particular danger. This danger can be actual or imaginary. Perhaps you saw the 2015 Pixar classic, Inside Out. That movie was about a young girl named Riley Anderson who had her life controlled by her 5 emotions. Those 5 emotions were anger, disgust, joy, sadness, and most importantly for the purpose of tonight's speech, fear, whose voice was expertly played by Bill Hader. You might remember in the beginning of that movie, a young Riley who was a toddler gleefully raced around the house, pulling her wagon in tow. Fear controlled her. She abruptly stopped when she saw her mother's vacuum cleaner plugged into the wall and carefully walked around it and avoided the possibility of her tripping and hurting herself. That fear warned her of a danger and it proved successful. But what if fear got too powerful and it overcame the other 4 emotions? What about if any of our lives fear controlled us? Then we would suffer from a condition called paranoia. Paranoia is when you are excessively afraid of any particular event. And this could ruin your life. It might prevent you from doing the tasks that you need to get through your life, and it could definitely prevent you from enjoying your pastimes and having a pleasurable life. But what if this fear, excessive, only involved one particular topic? What would that be? That would be paranoia. A phobia. Riley had a cave which featured her subconscious. Living in that cave were her phobias. They included the vacuum cleaner for reasons previously mentioned, broccoli, because her father made her eat that vile vegetable when she was 3 years old. Jangles the clown, who scared poor Riley on her 3rd birthday, and the steps down to Grandma's basement for reasons unknown to this viewer. As an aside, Franklin Roosevelt did have his own phobia. He had a lifelong condition called pyrophobia, meaning that he was afraid of fire. You might think that that would be sensible, considering that Franklin Roosevelt was stricken with polio, hence he was paralyzed, and he would be unable to flee a building on his own recognizance. However, my repartee to that statement is, if Franklin Roosevelt did not get polio until he was 39 years old, he had full mobility for the majority of his life. That pyrophobia developed when he was a young child. One of his aunts, named Laura, suffered from an accident where she spilled the contents of an alcohol lamp onto her nightgown, set herself on fire, and that traumatized poor Franklin for the rest of his life. But how should one react to fear? You have to ask yourself, is this fear rational? Is this a real danger? If that is the case, such as Riley almost tripping over that vacuum cleaner, then you should follow your instinct and avoid that danger. Do not unnecessarily expose yourself to danger and be harmed in any way, shape, or form. However, if you conclude that that fear is not rational, then you should confront it. Do that task. Overcome that phobia. If you need to breathe deeply or even meditate, then by all means do so. If that is not enough to overcome your phobias, then you might want to consider seeking professional help, as psychologists have techniques to develop your skills in overcoming your phobias. Do not ruin your life by needlessly being in fear of things that you do not have to be afraid of. Life is too short and too pleasurable for that. Thank you.